So Unit 5 then, managing communication within a funeral home, covering the 6 following points. So understand how to manage communication within the funeral home, know the theory and process associated with effective communication, know how to ensure effective and timely communication takes place. The outcome 4 is understand the need for a combination of written and verbal communication, and also why that's important, especially in the world we now live in. 5, understand the need for managing clients and family expectations. Nikki and Rosemary, that's really what we just said there, really, about setting that expectation to create these boundaries on both sides, really. And actually, when you create expectation, you create good service. You show them where the line is. You're creating a line as well. And then learner outcome 6, know how to manage and respond appropriately to social media. So obviously, Emma Duffy came to do a talk on that recently, but we'll just touch on that again just to see where your thoughts are now after that.
I'm gonna leave you guys first. Go inside. I thought I'm not going to go straight back in.
A little slide here. Your ability to communicate with others will account for fully 85% of your success in your business and in your life. And I was told that in the military as well. When I just joined the military, if you're unable to communicate to people, you'll be unable to lead. You have to be able to communicate. I think again what Felicity said, I'm sorry to keep referring to her stuff, but very powerful content about how we deliver the message to make sure people understand what we expect. That's what I always say to people when they get frustrated. So and so is not doing A, B, C, D. Have you actually told them what you want doing? Have you told them exactly what you expect? And back to those 4 points that she said, some people are going to need different information than other people. So unless we give the actual right information, they won't know. So it's actually our fault.
Yeah. Alex, wash the car.
So the outcome 1 then is understand how to manage communication within a funeral home. I'll just discuss with you there about expectation. Can you give an example of communication where you've given somebody a message, a detail, an instruction, and they've taken it as something else, which has resulted in bad communication, or resulted in an error, or resulted in a conflict within you and another person or with your team? Any examples?
Yeah, we had an interchurch last week, and I asked the hearse driver and the bearer to get to the church at quarter to 11 for a start time of 11.
Yeah.
As the coffin was already inside the church the night before.
Yeah.
And we communicated them to arrive 15 minutes prior, because the limousine, which I was in with the driver, was going to arrive just after at 10 to.
Yeah.
So we're just approaching the church. There's no hearse, so I WhatsApped the bearer in the hearse. So whereabouts are you? It's like, we got caught up, so we're not going to be there until 5 to. Now I was like, right, well, can't really have a hearse pulling up after the limo's already there before the family comes. So I said, right, you're going to have to just drive until the family have gone into the church.
Yeah.
And was before the family are outside, it was quite a tight church car park as well. And then if a hearse rocked up at 3 minutes to 11, that's obviously not, no one in the right mind would say, well, I want you there at 3 minutes to 11.
Yeah.
So we tend to work in 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes, don't we? So I just said, look, I'd rather you not turn up at all and be there for when the family come out.
Yeah.
So luckily, the fact we didn't get there and the family didn't go, because the family had ordered quite a lot of flowers as well. Luckily, we didn't pull up and they were complaining as to the flowers not being there, but they quite easily could have turned around to me and said, we've spent £300-400 on flowers. We expected a hearse to be there.
Yeah.
Luckily, they didn't, and they just said, well, traditionally the hearse will be here after.
Manage expectations.
Yeah, before they said anything to me, they said, the hearse will be outside for when you come out, and we'll all be ready to go. Although that's not the process I'd have preferred, it was sort of the next best alternative.
Yeah.
There's a conflict between me and any of the lads because it was Shane.
So
You know, I was going to just ask him it was, yeah.
So what's an interesting one is if you say to the hearse driver, if you're going separately for any reason at all like that, can you go to that route, please? To get to crematorium for 5 to. Again, what I find that I'm doing now is explaining the reason why. Oh, by the way, I'm going that route for A, B, C, D.
Surprised me really.
But otherwise, I might think, okay, well, actually, I know a better route.
It surprised me.
And you find that a lot.
The area in which this was, I'm not from the area in which we work, so I only know very specific areas really well. And the hearse driver knew this area considerably better than myself.
Yeah.
And quite a really competent guy. So I was really surprised when they said, "Oh, we're not going to be there till 5 because."
But again, though, is that because he didn't see a need to be there?
Maybe it's my fault for not
Yeah,
saying
yeah.
why I wanted him there.
He thought, well, the coffin's already in. There's no rush when you get there.
Yeah, whereas
Come there after the funeral, doesn't matter.
I would think, what are the family going to think if the hearse isn't there? Whereas they just turn up and
And you could be, have the mindset, just do as I tell you. But actually, if you explain it to somebody, and that's what leadership is, if you explain it to them, you take them with you, rather than thinking he's a difficult so-and-so. This is the reason why I'm asking for this. You can say, I don't need to do that, but if you do it, at least then actually they join the journey with you then. And actually, it helps build that team. Well, Dan, Nick, examples of communication when you're giving a message and then take it into something else.
I suppose the big one for me, which seems to have on a regular basis, is family bearers and organising them to help carry the coffin off the hearse. And,
Facing the
Based
wrong
on
way.
right.
yeah, I mean, Thursday,
trying to take coffin off by crouching.
Thursday, my first driver did a great job, I thought, of explaining to the family what you're doing, left, right hand, all of this. Okay, right, let's carry on. I mean, God knows what, just none of it had gone in, I suppose.
Yeah.
It's a
It's interesting.
stressful time, and actually they're not.
That's a great example. That is actually a great example of us giving a clear message and actually how it's received. But again, because the barriers around it, with stress, the family are here, my dad's coughing. Ugh! So it's like how they receive the information.
Someone's having to look after mum, so actually they want to do it, but
So again,
they're
is
nowhere
it,
near thinking
from
about
our point of view, then we deliver the message and then just please provide more aids around them. Go and see Lee there. He'll show you which hand to put on which handle to face the right way.
Yeah, so I'll always get the bearers to physically get their hands up.
Yeah.
The bearer on each side of the coffin. So let's say John and Jimmy are the bearers. I'd say, right, you'll lift your right and you'll lift your left. Watch the lads and then try and just get them to replicate the emotion rather than saying, yeah, this sounds.
But yeah, but I think the point was making though, regardless sometimes, it's still good.
I mean, we do have a bit of debate about it at work, in that most of my blokes will take time and take a few minutes to just explain what to do while I'm with the family and say, right, we'll do this. Whereas sometimes if I've done that, because I do occasionally like to drive the hearse and do that job, I will almost get the bearers, 4 or 6 of them. I won't say anything, and literally when I know it's time to go, literally, right, you two, hand in.
Yeah.
And I don't actually not pressing it to them. I just
Go and get
Sometimes too much information is not always the best.
That's it.
Driving the car.
So,
I just kind of don't tell them anything, and then they're overthinking.
and as John said though before, in an ideal world, we know who these people are, so we can profile them, so we can actually detail our communication accordingly. However, we meet these people 3 minutes before the job.
Yeah.
Unless we
Unless
get
you
them
get them
beforehand, but it's not realistic.
Yeah.
So yeah, interesting one. Interesting one. Okay.
It's always the ones that I've done this before. No.
Yeah, he's the cat in him off for a cuppa.
Yeah. So there's the 2 sides of it really. This is based on within the funeral home, but obviously we've got families who we're looking after. And I think Fliss has said that really, really well about adapting accordingly to who's in front of us. And then obviously it's our teams as well. And I think that moving forward, the best way to get the best result from our teams are knowing how these people operate. That's how we get the results. Real quick example as well for myself. Apologies, I've told you a story before about the family in the nursing home, and they are autistic. I went to do the collection at 4 in, brought them to Seastyle, and the family were all there. Spoke to them all whilst their loved one was on the stretcher, and I said, "What's going to happen next? The next steps?" And they said to me, "John, can we come and see Mum tomorrow morning?" It's a Saturday. That was Sunday morning, early hours. I was like, "Well, my advice would be, sit down, do the arrangements, discuss clothing, the coffin choice, and at that point then to come after that. Is it a yes or is it a no?" I said, "The answer is yes, you can come tomorrow morning." Got on the ambulance. I thought, bloody hell, that's so rude. I'm here to look after their mum. They've just been really rude to me. But I'm trying to help them. I booked in to arrange the funeral. They came the following morning. I didn't see them. I think I was not sure what's going on. arranged the funeral at their home in Bridgnorth, went to the house, and there was books everywhere on autism. I was like, okay. So I sat down and I changed my approach, my arrangements. No fluff, no, what we can do is ABC. I was literally, it wasn't like too direct. I was, they needed it black and white. So I adapted myself to what they needed. And I felt actually as I was doing it, this is not like you. You're being really, really like to the point. It wasn't like rudeness, but I was really, really clear. The communication was still soft, and I was still John, but there's no fluff or pinkness. It was just boom, boom, boom. And afterwards, the feedback I got from them was unbelievable. So it proved the point to me that actually it's a great example of adapting yourself to what's in front of you almost. They didn't want to go through all this stuff and about being empowered, like taking control. Just give us that.
Yeah.
Interesting, very interesting. When I thought they were initially really rude to me, adapting myself, actually, the result was really, really positive. Yeah.
It's flexibility as an arranger again, isn't it?
Yeah. Angela, your hands up.
Yeah, only I just something just go through my mind when I so because I've worked in a funeral home myself with this, and something that I observed was the team, because everybody's got their own distinct responsibilities, from the person who might be on reception, the funeral administrator, arranger, and irrespective, I guess, really of whether or not it's a really small business or a wider one, but for the funeral director to really know and understand the requirements of each a person's role, because very often what I noticed was that the person who was actually completing the so the funeral director's got all this knowledge in the head, and sometimes it should be verbal rather than written, because there's so much going on, and the person that needed to sort of pull together the order of service and all the detail that sits behind was left wondering. And it's like, well, if you don't tell me, how do I know? And the reason, and that wasn't because anybody was doing that deliberately. It was because they were so busy from one funeral after another. So the funeral director's mind was on that next step, that next family, that next funeral. But the administrator person is still sweeping up behind for trying to make sure that all the details input to the system, and that they know themselves all the ins and outs and what needs to be done. And sometimes that caused a real load of frustration, as you can imagine, because, and not for funeral directors were going, well, why didn't you know this? Why didn't you do it? And then the admin people are going, well, you didn't tell us. So it just spring to mind that, John. I know it's not,
The interesting, my next question actually, how to measure expectation. And Barry Pritchard, who you worked for, I've learned a lot from him actually about this, because he's like how we measure people. We can only measure people if we give them clear expectations, what we want from them.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
Guesswork. As I said right at the start, you get annoyed at people, they're not doing their jobs properly. Have we actually told them what we want from them?
Yeah.
If we told them what we want, then we can measure their success. But prior to that, you can't do it.
Oh.
So, other points here as well, never assume, examples on funerals.
Oh, God.
Any thoughts?
Could be an organic.
Absolutely awful. I did a funeral. It was about a month ago, and I saw since I did it, I'm never ever going to assume anything ever again. 4 ladies walk out the house, all look within 5 to 6 years of age, and speaking to the client, and they were down as the client was down as a daughter in the relationship. So 4 ladies walk out, all look like within 10 years, gap with each other. I went, oh, are you all daughters? And they all look back at me, and they went, that's my mom. And I went, wow. I said, well, you look amazing in your age. I tried to smooth out, and I said, they're going to get out and go. They're going to make a complaint. They got out, and they were laughing their heads off. And then Marty Jinks, the official, actually said, "Oh God, are you one of the sisters?" Like that as a joke. So it sort of got me out of the hole. But they were fine. I felt that half an hour to the crowd. I was like, awful. So now, can you assume husbands and wife, and it's a brother and sister that come into arrange? Oh, this is your wife. And that's my sister. You're like, it's negative straight away.
Yeah.
Always let them tell you.
That's the thing as well, isn't it? I've been guilty of it as well, sitting down, that assumption. So it's best that, again, just stop. Before we begin, just clarify who's who. And again, like sometimes it can be an uncomfortable question, but actually once you start doing it, it's really not.
Yeah.
And it just sorts it out. There's no issues then. Any other examples of how assuming is dangerous when it comes to instructing bearers or hearse drivers or the mortuary staff, coffin makers?
I think we've had times where we've assumed that the family got no money.
Yeah,
Okay.
They're a bit sensible, actually, they're the ones that spend the fortune.
yes.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then sometimes the ones that assume got plenty of cash, it takes us 3 months to get paid.
I was militant with my funeral advisor the other day, and about when she was dealing with the family, I'd had a few conversations with them, and I was like, you can tell them, blah, 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 blah. We've already had a conversation about money up front, and we won't do that again. She come back to me with £6 cash in her hand, and she's like, there you go. I was like, either words.
Yeah.
Yeah. Likewise.
Yeah.
Proof of, yeah. So again, assuming is dangerous,
Yeah.
basically.
Makes an acid deal with me.
Yeah, this one I'm ready until Monday, so.
Yeah,
Ask.
Paper.
okay, yeah.
Paperwork.
You'll be fine.
But-
Family happy to wait.
Oh, no.
Well, yeah.
Brilliant, good.
The point is, though, with effective communication, we don't need to assume. Again, to the hearse driver going the right way, to family bearers, putting the aids around them. Even with costs, which I know it's difficult, but again, with effective communication, there's ways around it. Being smart with your communication, you get whatever answer you want, really.
Mm.
So, so this here then, under outcome 2, this ties into again what Fliss said about how and what we've been saying about instruction. So the sender here, from the thoughts and feeling. So we have an idea in our head, and we want to basically output that into a message. We transmit the message, the receiver, that person receives the information, and then basically how that information is received, so what action is carried out. Message for a feedback is encoded into words, feedback is transmitted, message from feedback is decoded. Again, that could be in communication or in actions, as we've stated. The hearse driver's taken the wrong route because they've got a better idea. If we give them the information, how they decode it is then effective. We get the result that we need, not just for ourselves, but for the business or service. So there's a reason why, and it's again how we give that information, which is critical. Again, knowing who we're talking to, you'll adapt your communication if somebody is different, how they receive information. I've got people in my head now I'm thinking of, I have to give them a lot more information than other people. So it's about adapting your communication and your message, depending who it is.
Your dad versus.
Yes. Okay, all happy with that though? So, learning outcome 2.1 is barriers to effective communication. Let's go through first of all an arrangement. What could be a barrier to effective communication whilst arranging a funeral?
Too many people in the room.
So the bereaved family, people arranging the funeral, too many people in there. The next door neighbour who knows it all, arranged the funeral last week, is the expert. They're a distraction. They're not helpful. They're a barrier. But actually, that's a bit unfair saying that, but there can be a barrier.
Probably the truth.
It's probably the truth, yeah.
Conflict within a.
Yeah.
Within family that are there.
Conflict within a family, a massive one. So again, how do we diffuse a situation to create effective communication when there is issues in there? We change the environment around it. We pull it, we stop it. Do it separately with both of them, rather than going through it, muddling through. It'd be an absolute poor arrangement. Change the environment around it. What else can affect it? Real basic stuff.
Family viewpoints, I think we've all been in a situation where we've had families that turn around and say, we only want white people on, white bearers, we only want
Okay, so,
male
so like
bearers.
conflicting views.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
You're then putting somebody in some position that has to then decide how they're going to
Okay.
deal with it. My personal way of dealing with that is everybody who works there is professional
Yeah.
and qualified to a point, and you'll get who you're given.
Yeah.
If you don't like it,
So,
yeah,
And that goes back to what you said before, isn't it? Around we should be putting our staff in a position where they're being penalised.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Discriminate.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
straight away, some arrangers would that it comes back to that fight
Yeah.
phrase.
yeah. Imagine a
What
company
do now?
though. I know companies where this happens, where they will actually say, okay, we'll make sure there's not a woman on the field. We'll make sure there's not a black person on the funeral for you. Imagine we're becoming at the value of it. It's just, as I say, the culture of the company then is worth a lot less the following day. So yeah, being able to deal with that information. So again, effective communication will result in a better outcome. Things like distractions, phones ringing, mobile phones ringing, TV on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't have to.
That might
More
be
like
like
home
go
management.
to someone's house with the tennis on.
A dog.
Dog.
And barking in the arrangement.
I've got a vision of a scene a cat with his nose in my tea at someone's house. Just looking at it there and I really need to concentrate on this job. So yeah, so animals, but TV is an interesting one. I know rangers that don't feel, they think it's rude to say, can you turn the TV off? Where I will say, oh, do you mind just turn the TV down, please? In a real nice way. So it's about how we change the environment to ensure we have the best outcome.
I mean, we also talk about things like a desk between. So I mean, sometimes I'll sit behind the desk, something else. Whereas
Totally, definitely. So again, some funeral homes will all have desks. Some funeral homes like here, we haven't got a desk in the arrangement room. So you could class it barrier, but sometimes it's efficiency, so it actually helps the communication.
How do you record information without the desk? Do you need to go straight
Just
to
onto a pad.
Oh, on
That's
your
what
own.
I do, yeah. We don't have desk team.
Yeah.
So we've got like dining tables in our arrangement rooms, which works really well because everyone can work on together. So you all drawn in a bit more. But we tried using to put the information chat on the funeral system, but we thought that was an absolute barrier. So we stopped it.
I use clipboard.
Yeah.
Poor timing. That's an interesting one. I remember turning up to someone's house late, out of my control, turned up the house late, and they were absolutely fuming at me for being late.
Yeah.
So already I was starting in a bad place.
You're on the back foot.
Yeah. So you've got to build that trust again there. And I think I'm used to this because I'm late. It's about building that trust to show them I'm sorry, and this is how I work usually. So yeah, that's another barrier and something that can affect communication and arrangement. And the view, isn't it, really? It's the view. Also, as well, it's not in here actually, but for effective communication, to build that trust again, which Nikki mentioned about trust. It's even that the handshake, isn't it? How you, that initial first contact, first approach, that judgment, isn't it? So that's important. Other things in here as well. Difference in backgrounds, you mentioned that, Nick, really. Grief and emotion. So if somebody is that far gone with their, I've been in the rooms before when somebody's just not there, they're totally not there. So do you just pause the arrangements? What would you do?
Maybe focus on getting the basic fundamental details.
Yeah.
And then, well, there's a number of ways you could then go about it, but perhaps at a different time, or if there's maybe not the next of kin that's present, and maybe you could say there's someone that maybe is listening. Look, this may not be the best time to make some of these decisions now. We'd either like to reschedule to come into the office, or I can come and see you in a couple of days.
Good.
Or ring us when you're ready, perhaps.
Build a foundation with a family, which you can build up moving forward. Yeah, it's good.
I'd actually change the subject and talk about something completely different to get them talking again.
Yeah, build the
I will
trust.
sit and chat to them and say something like along the lines of, bloody awful weather today, or anything, just any sort of conversation, anything but it's not death, just to get them chatting, maybe get a cup of tea, go and do something, so that when they start talking, eventually they will bring it into the subject, and then maybe suggest that another time would be appropriate. Maybe a friend could come with them or something like that.
Yeah, suggested that as well. But I think that's really a good point, though, that you've made. Just be human.
Yeah.
Just talk, and let them just relax and be calm around you. So yeah, it's a good point as well. So activity 1 then for Unit 5 is the following. Analyse the theory and process of effective communication, examining potential barriers and ways to overcome them. So, happy enough?
Yeah.
We've gone through that.
Basically, maybe like a couple of 100 words on each of these 5 things.
Yeah, and I've been done throughout. As long as I can see that you've covered the work effectively, that's the key part of it, really.
John, could I just add in a little bit here. Excuse me. As you're going through the course, and like John's just said there about the portfolio activity, and it says analyse. So the syllabus is constructed of words like analyse, assess, describe, define. So make sure that you stick to what it's actually asking you to do, because when it comes to examinations at the end, it's based on the same terminology. So
Yeah,
yes,
what I'll do, Angela, I send over the assessment criteria so they see how they're marked. So it's
Yeah.
on there.
yeah,
So they'll-
right.
okay.
Okay, sorry.
That's great. Thank you.
For analyse, they want fours and obviously fours and then
Against.
So
Yeah,
then
yeah.
a conclusion.
Yeah, so basically, what's the issue? Identifying the issue, assessing the issue, and then basically how do we?
Yeah, whereas when it just says, if it said describe, you would literally just describe these things rather than argue.
But
for.
analysing
Yeah,
it
yeah.
for and against, isn't it?
That's it.
Yeah.
For the TV's on.
Mm.
Yeah.
I'm spotting that. I'm assessing that the TV's on. The result of the TV being on will be it'll affect the arrangements. They'll be distracted watching the tennis rather than listening to me. Just the sound subconsciously will be annoying as well. So I can't be myself as well. So the result of that, how we get through that is, well, I'll ask them using the following communication, can you please turn it down or off? And actually, if you do that for me, this is what the result will be. The following will have an effective arrangement. But show your communication there as well. What communication would you use? What would you say? How would you say it? Sorry, there's an example. Happy?
Yep.
Yeah. Great. And on the sheets that you'll get as well, obviously, it's got the as Angela says, it's got the criteria as well, with the word counts on there, and also the sort of assess, analyse all information. So learner outcome 3, know how to ensure effective and timely communication takes place. So we've got verbal communication and an active listening. So what I'll do a bit more, I'm just going to read this out, that's okay. I don't have to read from the book usually, but I'll just go through this. So when communicating verbally, the words that are spoken are very important. However, the way in which the words are spoken is just as important as the choice of vocabulary. In their interactions with clients, you and other members of the team can achieve effective verbal communications through the following strategies. Plan for and organise what information is required. Consider the key points regarding what needs to be done before the funeral arrangements. What information in detail is discussed during the arrangement and what will happen on the day of the funeral in a logical sequence. Divide the information you have, messages, into small sections, communicating each portion slowly to enable the clients and family to absorb them. Ensure that messages are understandable, chose vocabulary that meets needs and levels of understanding of the people you're meeting. So we've gone to that in detail already. What is our goal of the meeting? What do we want to achieve from that meeting, that communication? What do we want back is the answer. It's got other information here. The words creme, cremated remains, casket, and removal, just a few of the main words and phrases that have entered the daily working vocabulary of the funeral directors everywhere. So again, I think this is discussed that in good detail. As I put as well, death and passed away, slipped away, that's, gone to sleep. There's some dangerous words which you can't fall into. Speak using a calm and respectful manner. Be honest and straightforward using a tactful and considerate manner without venturing into too much technical detail. Again, though, I think we've proven that some people need that detail as well.
Yeah.
Provide an appropriate amount of information, avoid information overload, summarise and repeat key points to reinforce the message. Ask open-ended questions to ensure understanding of the client. Again, sometimes open-ended questions aren't helpful, so we need sometimes a real clear answer. So it's again, depending what we need is the key. Give others the opportunity to ask questions and seek clarification. So again, if we go through lots of information with people, with families we're serving, or with the team as well, we're giving our messages to people, check in, are there any questions you want to ask me? Give them opportunity to speak, because otherwise they're going to feel bombarded. So even like those little breaks can be really helpful. and shows actually we want to listen to you as well. Active listening, just run through this. The communication process is effective when there is mutual understanding between the sender and receiver, as we already discussed. Therefore, listening is just as important as speaking. However, it should be noted that listening is not the same thing as hearing, okay? Hearing is a physical ability, while listening is a skill that requires becoming involved and engaged in what is being said. People who have effective listening skills are better able to do the following: understand and recognise the underlying meaning in what is said by others, gain a clearer understanding of what is expected of them, build rapport with others, explore common ground in conversation, modify the speed of your speech to meet the needs of others, answer questions and offer to assist in resolving what may be seen as the problems to the client, but not to you. Contribute and work more effectively in a working team or with a team. So again, we've discussed this all morning really. It's about becoming connected in that conversation. The more connected we are to that family or whoever we're talking to, the better the outcome, the better they will feel, regardless of who it is. Field directors can manage the effectiveness of listening skills through the following ways: ensure full attention is given to the person who is speaking, concentrate and remain focused on what's being said rather than think about what to say next. Allow the client to finish saying what they wish to say, do not interrupt them. Listen carefully for the main ideas. Demonstrating respect for the clients. Provide appropriate feedback to reassure the clients that you are listening, i.e. nod, smile, frown, laugh when appropriate. We've gone through that this morning as well, and I think Felicia's will sort of expand on that really in more depth. Verify understanding of the intended message by using active listening techniques, which include the following: mirroring, paraphrasing, and summarise and clarify. Provide a condensed version of what the client has said. So again, we've gone into that in detail, being careful of mirroring. What I've found in communication, when you're that in depth in a conversation, naturally it will happen, which is really interesting. I found myself in that, the conversation is that in depth, it's that in tune with someone, but afterwards when I come out of it almost, I've noticed the person I'm talking to, we've both got our legs crossed, we've both got our arms crossed as well. And it's fascinating how it happens naturally, subconsciously. I think that's a sign that actually the environment's correct as well. If the phone's ringing or someone keeps knocking on the door, you can't create that connection. And I think what John said as well, for our funeral arrangers, so it's all good and well us knowing this information, but for our funeral arrangers or other people within our team have this information, it's really helpful, really powerful. The service improves. So, any questions at all? Any questions at all on that area there? It's rather annoying.
Are you looking for us?
I've lost the PowerPoint, but what I'll do.
Okay.
We're here.
No,
Guys,
he's got PowerPoint. Nothing to do with us.
Oh, right. That's all right.
It's me. There you go.
That old chestnut.
Yeah. I'll be over here if that's okay, guys. Can you still see us okay?
Yes.
Yeah. If you have a question, just speak out, okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
I can't see you now at the moment.
Here, I promise.
Okay. Learner outcome 3.1, know how to ensure effective and timely communication takes place. So discuss the barriers, what can affect make the conversation or communication negative, things that can improve that communication and enhance it are the following there. Got these small titles here. So non-verbal communication, facial expressions, eye contact, posture, gestures, and physical contact as well, or physical space, sorry. So regarding non-verbal communications, this is all to do with subconscious. communication really. So firstly, gestures then and posture. We want to be like having a gesture and a sort of posture where we're interested, we're open. We have that responsibility to try and get them to open up to us. We're listening. We want to be here. We want to help you. So arms open, eye contact. Again, we're interested. Open up to us. Rosemary and Nikki mentioned about building that trust, being present, showing that intent to the family as well. Eye contact, though, you need to be aware of that, not to sort of freak somebody out as well by doing too much of it. Facial expressions, I think Fliss has covered that enough, really. And physical space, just being aware. It's interesting. I know somebody who was in charge of a company, one of the staff on a night out, was right in their face, telling them about all the problems, but in a real passionate way, but have no concept of physical space at all, because that person was so passionate. So it's about being aware of how close we're getting to people. Any questions at all on how to ensure effective communication? All happy? Learn outcome 4 is understand the need of a combination of written and verbal communication. So why do we need a mixture of both? Let's put it out there first of all before the slide. Why do we do both? What's the need?
Because the families aren't listening to half of what you're saying, because they're breathing up there and processing a million different things.
Yeah, so information overload, if you followed it up, mocked up afterwards. Anything else?
I think it goes sort of deeper than that, not just in what we do. So my hearse driver, brilliant at his job, really nice guy,
But
really funny,
But
not slow at all.
but
And when he's hearse driving, he'll do his route planning, he'll get me to the house on time, he'll get me exactly where I want to go and up on time. When we're not on funerals and I've got 3 deceased that need to come in from hospitals and the cars need to be cleaned and there are another of other jobs, he can only do one job at a time.
Yeah.
If I tell him, give him a list, by the end of the day, it's all done. And if
Okay.
I say to him, so we've got 3 deceased coming in from Heartlands, QE and Birmingham Coroners.
Yeah.
But then we need to make sure that the ambulance is clean and stocks. The hearse needs to be, the deck needs to be cleaned, and then this needs to be done. He'll go, right. And he'll wander off, and in 10 minutes' time, we'll find him still wandering around, trying to work out which one to do first,
yeah.
why he's going to do it first. But if I write it down for him in an order, there you go. By the end of the day, it's all done, no problem.
yeah.
Interesting.
We've got ones like that.
And he's listening to me when I'm saying this is what we need to be done. He's listening
Okay,
to
it's
me.
Process.
It's the process.
Yeah.
Overload the brain almost. Interesting. Okay. And with that instruction as well, do you just list it off, or do you put like more detail on there as well?
No, I don't have to put any detail on, because he knows the job and he knows why things need to be done. Like I say, he's not slow, he's not autistic. He just seems to be, I mean, you can give me 5 things to do without writing it down and I'll remember to do it, or he is just totally different. So I don't have to put any detail in. He will get straight away why it's being done in that order. But then once it's written down, he might come to me and go, well, actually, Birmingham Coroner's closed between 11 and 1 for lunch. So what I'll do is I'll do them 2 first. I'll come back, I'll do the ambulance, then I'll go. So he can work it all out. He doesn't need the why, he just needs to know what needs to be done. Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
Not retaining your information.
Yeah.
Don't sit on the car park an hour.
So, again, we're keeping that to, we're all different, and we go through the arrangement, give all the information verbally, but again, it's just giving that information afterwards. Certain people as well, after the arrangement, will want it all communicated via email as well. Could prefer that. And actually, from our point of view, you know, being busy and making sure we got our sort of our job done properly, it's useful as well, isn't it? We're covered as well then. That's
Well,
too
it's covering
critical.
ourselves, isn't it?
Yeah.
Especially that they're both singing off the same machine.
Yeah, there's no miscommunication, is there? It's there black and white for us all to see.
We've introduced, so our arranger pads are triplicates now. So we've got the white that the fuel arranger fills fills out, it goes through to a green and a blue. The family take the blue away,
Okay.
but more importantly, in the corner, there's some boxes that we tick. So we'll say to them, don't forget we need clothes for your mother. We can't arrange your viewing until we've got the clothes. We've confirmed that with them. So what we found is there's less of a ring it up a few days later, moaning because we haven't rung them about the viewing, because we've already said to them, well, we told you, and it's on your blue form, you need to bring your clothing. But oh yeah, of course we do. It almost kind of bolsters up. You go back about people being negative or having a distrust because something hasn't happened. It takes that away as well.
And that there's the final point on the screen here with the arrangement setting the expectation.
Yeah.
That's exactly what John's doing there. There's no sort of guesswork.
No.
That's what we need to move forward.
Then
It's
you can
really,
see, well, that's
really clear. Yeah. Quite often they'll call up after arrangements. If you're not doing that, when can we see Mom? So it's like, well, I have told, in your head you think I have told, we've gone through all this.
Yeah, we had some training from an external company about
Yeah.
customer service, and he basically said it can't be clients here and you're here
No.
because you're constantly doing this.
Yeah.
You need to be saying
Got
to
to bring
the
them.
families, you need to be,
Yeah.
this is what we can provide.
If you do this,
If you do this, then this will be, yeah.
Yeah. About the Rosemary and Litchi, say about getting calls at strange
Yeah.
times, and that's fine as long as that's what you set that expectation. So I'm in here tomorrow morning for a viewing with a family. Again, but that's our decision. So I've set that expectation there, and I'll fulfil it. But about what you want, what is your level? What do you want to do? And also, what I found is, unless you set expectations in place, you can actually provide a bad service, which
Yeah.
sounds conflicting and incorrect. But you need
Absolutely.
boundaries. Service.
Sorry, go on.
After you.
No, what we when we say to our families, any time, we don't do that to every family. So we've anticipated, we've got the rapport with the family. With some families, we know that if they think of something at 8 o'clock at night and it's worrying them, they will be in a state by 9 o'clock in the morning. So it's better to ring us and for us to give the answer. Other families, we're a little bit more, yeah, it's fine, get that information, talk to us in the morning.
Okay.
It's that balance.
You're adapting to what they need as well, to their needs, which is good. Yeah, it's good.
Just going back to what you said about if you don't set expectations, it can lead to bad customer service. And I totally agree with you, because if you don't set the expectation, then the family would have every right to be phoning up at 3:30 in the morning asking to speak to John. If you've not said beforehand, look, this is when you can contact me in here, the family could then feel, oh, well, John said we could speak to him 24/7.
Yeah.
We phoned at 5 o'clock in the morning, he wasn't available.
You're right.
Whereas if you've said, oh yeah, contact me whenever you want, and you've promised that to the family,
Yeah.
they may leave thinking, oh, I can contact him. I can wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, something more,
Yeah.
and ring him and he'll be there. Whereas in reality, that's not going to happen. And if you allow it to happen, you're going to just become a busy fool.
Yeah. And it's even tomorrow morning as well. That viewing I'm doing tomorrow morning, the gentleman's eye is slightly open because he's been here for about 3 weeks now, and it's like we're closing it properly. Jackie can't do it because it'll damage his eye. So I need to have a conversation tomorrow morning about that. And I'll suggest they close the coffin first, go into the coffin first, and I'll explain it to them. It needs to be their choice on the day, but I need to set a real clear expectation tomorrow morning for that family. Otherwise, it could turn out terribly bad tomorrow morning. But obviously, expectations again. Well, your question. Oh, point. Sorry, mate. Keep going on. So also as well, regarding written communication, when we do communication via written methods, making sure it's correct. The grammar, spelling, presentation, not having it all in capital letters like you're screaming. So it's a presentation, it reflects your business and you as an individual again, so just showing the importance of that. Avoiding slang words, so that's important as well. In text, making sure we use not the green form. We could put green form in like brackets afterwards, but making sure the communication we use, that they understand it as well as like our general teams as well. All comfortable? Straightforward? Activity 2 then is based on your experience of funeral arranging. Analyse the need for a combination of written and verbal communication when dealing with bereaved clients. Okay?
Yep.
Again, you'll have the sheets for this again. But based on your experience of funeral arranging, analyse the need for a combination of written and verbal communication when dealing with bereaved clients. Perhaps give some examples there as well on how it's been useful. And again, as the usual way, analysing, assessing, looking at the need. And the word count we showed as well in the sheets I sent them to. Any questions on that at all? So learner outcome 5 is understand the need for managing client and family expectations. So we've sort of touched on this then. Building trust and why, which Rosemary and Nikki stated throughout. Listening will allow the build. Why? Clear expectations will assist with the service. Ask if they need more time. So the listening will allow the builds and why. I did training for a very large funeral company, no names mentioned, and they go straight into the funeral arrangements without without actually listening to start off with or asking any questions. They just go straight in the information that they need, rather than building that rapport, building the trust. With building the trust, then you can get a better arrangement because you get more information to provide more services to them. During the arrangements, the mock exams that I was doing for that company, I told everyone to stop, put the pens down. I told them all, they want to see a pen in their hand for like 10, 15 minutes to try the new method out. And actually, I saw people starting to arrange funerals a lot differently to what they've been doing for 20 odd years. They started listening and finding out about the deceased, which actually resulted in better arrangements. So it's the facts of building trust with people and why it actually works and how it's so important. So a question that I always ask before the arrangements as well, before I start, after I find out who they are, who the deceased is, some basic questions and open questions would be before we begin all my stuff then, are there any things regarding the arrangements that you want to tell me about? You might have like these burning questions they want to tell you or burning issues they've got. So get it all out there, off their chest, again, to create a better environment for you to sort of provide a better service. Otherwise, you're asking them questions and they're more interested about discussing the close for their mum. So it allows them, get that off my chest. Now it's all clear. Let's go. Any other observations about expectations? Any other examples about good examples of expectations or bad examples of expectations? Joe's given one or two as well. Anything else at all we can use as case studies?
I think ultimately you've got to be aware that people talk to each other. And if you haven't set expectations, if you aren't setting expectations as a whole, then potentially you're going to run into two families that are talking to each other, totally different funerals. Well, we went there and they did this for me. Well, we went there as well and they didn't do that.
Yeah. Continuity, consistency.
Yeah. And it's like, yeah, okay, you are going to do weekend viewings as an exception to the rule. And there's always going to be a reason behind that. But again, it's setting those expectations straight away so that generally everybody is getting the same level of service. No one feels as though they're consistent less. Yeah.
I think there you're talking horses for courses, aren't you? If you have a family who have family members who are coming a long way, or can only come certain times and are coming a long way, then that's where perhaps you as a funeral home can make your exception to being out of hours or at the weekend or something. But you wouldn't have that as a general rule of thumb. And I think in terms of managing expectations, I think perhaps one of the most critical ones is to get over to families that you are not in full control of timings, and that you are reliant on the crematorium, or God help us, a church, in order to get a date. So they'll come along and they'll say, oh, we want it in a week, or we want it in 2 weeks. It's important, I think, to explain to them how the crematorium system works in terms of slots. And equally, if they want to go to church, it's the fact that there is going to be a time lapse before you can get hold of the church, speak to the vicar, hear about all the different things they're doing, so they can't possibly do it for 3 weeks or 4 weeks, so that you are, if you can then get it sooner by the work that you do with the church, that's great. But they're not expecting to be able to say to you, I want it next week and I want to go to such and such a church at such and such a time, and then on to the creme or up to the cemetery, because that's not real. And that's something that the general public don't understand. They think that they can say, well, I want it then, and why not? You know, just get the slot.
And also at the moment, I don't know if it's the same where you guys all are. Our churches at the moment are now massively in. If you don't live in the parish, they won't help you, which we are really struggling with, because even though someone may have been married there, they may have been christened there, they may have lived in that area, that person's now moved into a care home, for example. They may have only been there 2 months and the church is now turning their backs, which we are finding really quite awkward, because get rid of your own opinion on that. But for a family, they're not understanding, well, why are they behaving like that? And the anger and aggression that's coming out in our area is really is very negative, I'll be honest. And we're finding ourselves trying to defend the church, but he can calm them down when this is something that we're not in control of. And we've got families now, I'm going to go and do this. And you're thinking, oh God.
Go on, John.
Do you not just give them the phone number for the vicar and say, crack on, because we do? So we're obviously the vicar won't do, or quite often it's the parish administrator with a bit of power that's gone to a head. So we will say, well, this is what they've said, that they, you know, you might have more clout yourself as a grieving family. Give them a call. The families we push towards the vicar, the more the vicars are going to get pissed off with it and sort his life out.
Well, in worst case scenario, yes, when we are seriously struggling, and then we do take the two-pronged approach and get the family to speak to them. But that's not easy when they don't know who they're talking to. So what you often have are families who's, Nikki says that, you know, mum and dad were married in this church, but they weren't regular churchgoers. They could even be in the parish, but still not regular churchgoers. So it puts them, as far as the church is concerned, down the list.
What I'd say to this, though, I would say that this problem is becoming your problem. Yeah. It's not, and like that's sounding cold and brutal. It's not. It's not a problem. So as John said, there is an element there where actually make sure they know it's out of your control.
Yeah.
It's not. Yeah. It's not. It is not your problem. It's your issue to sort it out and to communicate the message to make sure they are aware it's not your problem. And then suddenly your company, your funeral service, because what can happen is it's your problem. And actually the issue, it's your fault of the delay.
And I've got a real actual example. We had this with my grandma where the undertaker phoned me and said the church that I live in Lichfield, my grandma didn't, but we wanted the funeral in Lichfield because that's where I live. And that's where all our family are. The vicar, the church administrators have none of it. Mary Short said to me, I can't do anything. Do you want to do something? I was like, absolutely. Give me the phone number. And needless to say, we had the funeral at the church. Because I was able to take it up another 2 or 3 pegs and, dare I say, be a bit more unprofessional than Mary, because she was the funeral director. I lost my shit over the phone, phoned the bishop's office in Lichfield, and we had the funeral 2 weeks later. Because are you doing the funeral for free then? Because she doesn't. Sorry, do you do the funeral for free if they live in the parish? No. So what does it matter? You got a leaky roof, and I've got a checkbook, and then we had the funeral.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, and we have done that. I think my original point when we were talking about managing families' expectations was the point that families aren't aware of the restrictions or possible restrictions between the crematorium and a church, or just the crematorium, which can be equally difficult. So they'll say, yes, we want it 11 o'clock and we'd like it on this day. Well, Friday at 11 o'clock, for example.
Yeah.
Well,
Pull that off.
no, unless you're going to be 3 weeks hence. I think that was my thrust of it, and those other extraneous issues that the families are not aware of. I think it's very important to make it clear to them to start with, so they then understand that they may have to wait or may not, or they may then choose to do something different. For example, they may say, well, okay, if we don't go to church but we do it at the Crem, how does that work? And we can then work with the Crem to get a better date for them.
The other thi- go on.
Said a family. By the way, if it was crematorium only, I could book all this for you right now.
Yeah.
We're going to have time for you, and then with half an hour. So
Exactly.
again, it's proving again the service that you offer works. So.
Yeah, and equally, how important is it for you to have a member of the cloth?
Yeah.
Because sometimes they just think it's a funeral, it's death. We have to have a vicar. So you can introduce an alternative which can include the elements of the faith, but isn't exclusive to it, and it gives you a bit more freedom because you can then use a celebrant.
We also have expectations the other way, and we've got a funeral directors who own 10 branches near us and are very, very active in the community, and everybody knows their name. But people will ring us and say, oh, hi, we've spoken to so-and-so. We know we can't have a funeral for 5 weeks, but what's your price? And we're now trying to change that expectation that you don't have to wait 5 weeks for a funeral just because it's convenient to those ones. And it's changing that from a negative into a positive, that it can be done quicker.
Okay, that's good. Okay, so activity 3 then, for an outcome 5 is the following. A son is making funeral arrangements for his mother, and he shares that there are 10 grandchildren, all under the age of 12, like a riddle. In that very moment, how can you demonstrate that you care? What questions or concerns do you think the son may have about including the younger grandchildren in the funeral arrangements and the funeral service? How can you use your experience to manage the client's expectations? So with this then, there is more creative freedom with this activity. Suggestions that you can offer the family in all aspects of the funeral, the point of death, all the way through to the funeral service, and actually beyond as well. What could you offer that family is basically the question we're asking here.
It's not like sort of not really a wrong. There is a wrong answer, but like there's a lot more freedom.
There's freedom, creative freedom. So and you can put something in there quite extreme, but what I'd ask you to do is anything you put in there to explain why. That's the key part of this.
They mention, like, for example, mention to the celebrant to include the names in the eulogy.
Yeah.
Kids do the poems.
And again, like perhaps come with the coffin, chapel arrest, the coffin closed for young people. Again, you could put in there the pros and cons of that as well.
I know one of our coffin suppliers have the coffins with the chalkboard and the whiteboards on the edges as well.
Yeah, there's different things you can
kids
do.
come and
So it's really open there. Lots of ideas you can throw into that. Pictures to go into the coffin, letters, photographs, to be at the funeral service or just be at the reception afterwards, for them to say the chapel arrest, for them to speak to the funeral director or the arranger about what's happening with the arrangements, give them books on bereavement and grief.
Excuse me.
Yeah, sorry, that was all. So lots of things you can suggest there for that scenario. Any questions on it at all for me? As I said, the more detail will be in the assessment criteria I send over to you, but it's as before, straightforward, the word count's there. With the word count, I've said, I shouldn't say it in front of Angela, but I'm not too precious about the word count. As long as the content is all there, that's what I'm after. So it's more of a guideline for you.
What's the word count for? for? Sorry,
I'll have to check what it is next door. It's on the,
I've
on
got,
the
yeah,
attachments. Yeah. And you have all the printouts, don't you, for those as well?
yeah, that's what I'm getting
Yeah.
now.
Good. Wait for John to get back. That's okay. And we've got one more to do, which is the final one for Unit 5, which Emma Duffy spoke about with social media. Because we've covered this in detail already with that session from Emma, I'd like to get your thoughts following our last session with Emma about have you changed your view at all on social media and where do you stand with it? If we just go around the room.
We're still a bit sort of nervous of it, but I think it's incredibly important to consider the language that you use when replying to when commenting or replying to a post on social media. That perhaps this is the occasion where you say you choose your words so that you are the neutral. Because you don't wish to you wish to acknowledge and appreciate the comment, especially if it's a good one.
Yeah.
If it's a slightly negative one, then your response of something like we were so disappointed to hear that you were disappointed. Perhaps if you'd like to contact us, we can discuss it further or something like that. Something where you're not inviting, albeit unconsciously, debate or those lovely people on Facebook that think it's all right to say the most appalling things because they're just putting it on social media and it doesn't matter. I think that needs a lot of careful thought before you do it.
Yeah.
Also, though, since we saw Eva, we have. I mean, I'll be honest. The last few weeks we haven't, for major other reasons, which isn't an excuse. We have taken on board about putting something about the community, something that may help people, that's more educational. So put something on there. Was it about Tell Us Once?
Yes, we talked about Tell Us Once.
Informing people that there is this scheme called Tell Us Once, and it may be something that's appropriate to their family. And here was the links to go through the website. We have done that, but we need to do more.
Yeah.
Jimmy?
I think we've just had a meeting with our PR team, and they obviously worked close with Lim, three other directors who did that BBC documentary.
Yeah.
And they mentioned obviously there was a lot of bad publicity, obviously on it. But they said naturally that will always happen.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of good out of it as well.
Yeah.
So I think it's about weighing up the good with the negative as well. You're always going to have a bad person that's going to comment or say something, but try and override it. And they wanted to respond to this obviously bad comment, and there was advised not to. And was like, don't respond bad, just leave it as it is, and just obviously put the good on there. And it seems to have worked for them. And they kept saying to us, you're always going to get people that are going to be bad, that are going to be against you. But just keep putting the good things on what you do and just push it that way.
Yeah, I totally agree.
I think you can just get yourself into, if you start responding bad, you're asking for a fight. And then before you know it, you're getting several people on it. Just leave it and just push on. It's not done.
I've seen it also from a personal point with the stuff within schools and parliaments. And what's interesting is you only remember the negative stuff, don't you? That's the sad thing about it. So all the positive stuff, getting to meet lots of wonderful people to discuss it and people behind it. But the one or two people online who said like, let kids be kids. And actually, I want to write back to them and say, can I give you a call? I'd love to have a chat to you.
Yeah.
But obviously, you can't do. Well, you can do that, but I don't do that. But as you say, Jimmy, you have to. It's unfortunately it is part of it, but how you respond to all these people, make it be your identity in a positive way. And actually, some negative comments, you can flip it over as an opportunity as well.
Educate.
Educate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And as I said in Ema's session, if you actually put your information out there to educate people, in my view, there's no way you can come back and bite on the arse because you're trying to help people. If your intention is for positive reasons, then I think you've got to go for it, in my view. As you've stated as well, when you're putting things out there, make sure it's correct, basic stuff. You know, there's nothing worse than seeing a post and it's like you see spelling errors or pictures that aren't appropriate. You know,
Inappropriate music.
sorry.
Inappropriate music.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Oh, terrible.
What's that? Sorry.
Inappropriate music, so they put like footage or something, and then the music they put to it.
Students,
On
not right.
on what on the advert?
The director's
Yeah.
posts.
Oh, on the Facebook page.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, just making sure it's, again, how do we measure it being tasteful, I suppose, is the question. But I suppose it's down to the public, isn't it? What you're putting out there, how will it be received by the public? What is the intent? What is the intent? What is the intention for what you're doing? Who are you doing it for as well? So any other observations on social media? Again, Ema's covered a great session for us last month. And if you want the details at all, I think I'll put the details out to you all tonight.
Yeah.
So you've got our information if you need it at all. Okay, so activity 4 then on social media, we covered. Based on your experience, analyse how you manage the use of social media in the context of a funeral home environment. Also as well, just on that, sorry, Dan.
No, that's all right. I was just going to say, in terms of social media, would Funeral Guide review system be
Part of it,
classed as a social media thing?
Yes, I would say so because it's your name, isn't it? It's online, so yeah. Also as well as an opportunity from a culture point of view in a business and a team. Like putting the pictures of your team on there. This is so and so, been with the company for X amount of years. They go above and beyond by doing the following. So it lets the community know about people within the team as well, which would be positive.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is the funeral director doing that. I mean, lots of doing it.
Yes. So
Can I ask you one piece of quick advice? I have just, which you may hear in a moment, I have just got 2 puppies that are 13 weeks old.
Okay.
They started coming to work with me, Dixie and Jessie, and the idea is they're going to be part of our team at the funeral home as they get bigger. They've been introduced to some clients and have gone down incredibly well so far. On social media, I'm thinking of doing something, not pup dates, I don't mean quite like that, but kind of introducing them. Would you think that was okay, or would you think, as funeral director yourself, oh, for God's sake, what are you doing?
So I know a funeral director in Shrewsbury, Clive Pugh, and he had a dog. He's passed away now, and he was on BBC News with it. Died. Sorry, passed away.
Died.
Died.
Coming back.
No. Isn't there? So
Been taken.
again, that was part of Clive's mission and goal, and part of his, his plan. So if you're going to do it, just what's your purpose for doing it is what I'd say. Who are your clientele? What's your reasoning? How will it help you? What's your reason? My question.
Yeah.
If it gives you any feedback, don't ask too many questions, but my sister had my ex-wife's dog for a week recently, little Labradoodle, lovely little dog, and she had to bring it to work, look up. And we had 1 or 2 families coming out of the chapel, and he just wandered around, children coming out the chapel.
Yeah.
Absolutely loved. Suddenly they could have a bit of fuss and
Normalised it,
It only takes one miserable get there to go and come up, and they would be like, what on earth is a dog doing in the funeral home?
Again, no expectation. Let them know.
Yeah, that's what I mean. For us, we want the similar situation. Is that I like dogs, to be fair. I want the similar situation where they're there. They're not going to be for everyone. Not everyone likes dogs. That's not the intention. But so far, we had a family yesterday. It was 3 people under the age of 30, lost their dad. They were talking about their dogs in the arrangement. Mine happened to yap at the wrong time. They're like, oh my God, what's that? Have you got a dog? And I said, they're actually puppies. So, can we see them? And the change in them when I brought the puppies in, it opened up much more of a conversation. It was a lot lighter, all of those things. And I
Lot
thought,
more
well,
positive.
yeah, actually, maybe we should be saying to people, we have got, members of our team of the fluffy variety that are here to give you that little bit of distraction during the time.
Or calmness.
My advice to you would be with the communication around the messaging. What's the reason for doing it? Who are you doing it for? But yeah, I think you can turn most things into a positive. So.
I think as well, like obviously when it comes to in the arrangement part of things, and speaking about the deceased personality, if a dog does come up, then that's usually like some neutral ground, like lists.
It's also
Him finish.
sorry.
And also on posting on your Facebook as well, 9 times out of 10, well, I'd say, sorry, 90% of our followers on Facebook have had a funeral with us already. Like I wouldn't go, if I, try and put myself in the client's shoes, I wouldn't follow random funeral directors online if I hadn't used them. So I don't think there's anything wrong with putting them on your social media, because they'll go, Rosemary and Nikki, look at them, look at the little dog. It's not like someone's scrolling through and it's like on you, all over you.
There's a relationship already there. That's the point. Yeah. The dog, what Joe's saying as well.
Yeah, sorry. Maybe not putting it.
No, that's good. The self-reflection for Unit 5 on the final page of your books there as well. So the specific unit aims to trigger your thinking about how to communicate and with whom. The questions for you to think about for self-reflection: are you confident with your own approach for keeping the clients informed? If not, what could you do? Do you feel confident supervising communication with work colleagues? Do you feel confident to manage and monitor communication on behalf of your employer? Are you aware of how you are perceived by other team members due to the communication you use?
Yep.
Are there any improvements you could make? If you're not being too sure, speak to tutor, include findings within your affairs. Got great units. Any questions at all on communication within a funeral home? Happy with it all? In depth? Angela, any queries or questions? Great. Well, it is 12:41 now. If we say let's have 20-minute break, half an hour lunch, probably 20-minute lunch break.
Back at 1.
Back here for 1. Sounds okay.
Yeah,
So leg stretch, grab some food next door, and then see you at 1 PM for units.
Don't show us what you're having.
Sorry.
John, just to let you know that 1 o'clock I will need to depart. So,
Angela.
yeah. So can I just say thank you to everybody to letting me join in this morning? It's been really, really beneficial. It really has. So thank you.
And I'll send you the details of Fliss as well, Angela, her mobile number as well. So
Right, lovely, great. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of the time.
yeah, thanks so much, Angela. Have a good day.
So
Bye. Bye-bye.
wouldn't mind send me a text message say family's kicking off because the funeral that they did yesterday, they've gone back to the grave today and the flowers aren't